2018 McLaren 570S Spider. The subtle feedback of tugs and twitches coming through the steering wheel with every pavement undulation and nuanced change in road surface are vivid enough that an astute passenger will notice the wheels wriggling. This is not standard issue car making, or even supercar making, these days. But McLaren is going countercultural by prioritizing driver involvement, even at sub-racetrack speeds, something regularly sacrificed across the industry due to ever-increasing horsepower, performance, and weight. While even McLaren succumbs to the siren song of the stopwatch on more expensive wares such as the 720S, the focus on feedback on its lower-priced Sports Series line of cars. A trio of $200,000 two-seaters that consists of the 570S Coupe, the slightly more practical 570 GT, and this new two-piece hardtop convertible 570S Spider, makes them the McLarens to buy. No lumps. The pursuit of driving character is why McLaren refuses to take its electric assist lumps like everyone else, continuing to use hydraulically assisted power steering. Also SPECD and the name of feel are surprisingly modest tire sizes, including 225mm section width rubber in front, 10mm narrower than what a Honda Civic C wears. These restrained tire selections certainly benefit ride quality, too, which is very reasonable by supercar standards. It's not like these cars can't deliver impressive numbers, though. We expect the 570S Spider, powered by McLaren's familiar twin-turbocharged, flat-plane crank V8 that was designed with the English engineering firm Ricardo, screams to 8,200 revolutions per minute and makes 562 horsepower. To dash to 60 miles per hour in 3.0 seconds and to return quarter-mile times in the high 10-second range. The last 570S Coupe we tested managed 1.05 grams on the skid pad, so this drop-top version won't be a slouch there, either. And, with the top up, the Spider will reach the same claimed 204 mph top speed as the Coupe, a point of pride for the aerodynamics team. It's perhaps not a huge surprise that the dynamic exuberance of the Coupe carries over pretty much unchanged the Spider, as the folding hardtop mechanism adds a claimed 101 pounds. And, indeed, the Spider feels Coupe-like in its solidity, despite receiving no additional bracing to its carbon fiber structure. We were hard-pressed to feel a meaningful difference in structural rigidity with the top in either position. The Coupe and Convertible are so similar that the suspension hardware remains identical, with only slight Spider-specific software tweaks to the programming for the adaptive dampers. Exhaust screams, as do bystanders. Befitting a supercar, the 570S's extroverted looks turn heads as well as anything, and perhaps better in the sharply contrasting two-tone color schemes of the cars we exercised on sinewy mountain roads outside of Barcelona. Numerous times, young children, the most honest of all critics, were so overwhelmed by the Spider's presence that they simply yelled, possibly involuntarily, "Mama," as we rolled by. Even with the car out of sight, folks are drawn to the properly cantankerous, tack-spitting grumble of the 570's twin-turbo V8 when it's first started. All of the cars we drove were fitted with the $4,090 Sport exhaust, which besides louder conventional pipes, adds a sound-enhancing resonator tube to channel noise between the exhaust and the cavity where the top stows. A similar resonator on the intake side is standard, and the intensity of each is controlled by a butterfly valve. The two resonators, plus flaps in the exhaust, make meaningful differences in the V-8's roar among the three driver selectable powertrain modes. Even with the exhaust at its loudest, though, with the top down, wind noise takes over above 70 miles per hour or so. To better hear the 3.8-liter V8 at high speeds, either find a tunnel we blasted through more than a few on our route, where the violent shriek sounds as if it's attempting to inflict structural damage. Or keep the top up and lower only the independently controlled rear window. This is actually a pleasant cruising option, where some outside air still wafts into the cabin, but without permitting irritating wind buffeting. The two-piece folding hardtop stows at the touch of a switch in 15 seconds and at speeds of up to 25 miles per hour. In an uncommon trick, the stowage spot for the roof can be used for additional top-up cargo capacity, the shallow but wide area accessed by raising the tonneau cover via buttons on the bottom edge of the doors. This location seems inconvenient but is actually an easy reach once the dihedral doors are swung skyward. The standard seats aren't bolstered particularly aggressively, much snugger. Racing seats are available in two levels of constriction for those who like a firm embrace, and provide a comfortable perch for working the superb dual-clutch automatic. The gearbox's modes range from smooth to swift. And manual shifting is handled by a single pedal that snakes behind the steering wheel and pops out on both sides so either half can deliver up or down shifts depending on whether the input is a pull or a push. We preferred manual mode for aggressive driving, as you can easily keep the engine near its 5,000 RPM torque peak to ward off the sniffs of turbo lag at lower engine speeds. Other than rather thick A-pillars, by our measurements, those of the Acura NSX and the Porsche 911 are significantly slimmer. The view out the front is textbook mid-engine car spectacular. The hood quickly falling away and leaving it to the rushing road to provide the visuals. Mute brake pedal. Supercars usually aren't without ergonomic foibles, and the Spider has a few, including the awkward seat controls located at the front inner edge of the bottom cushion, where they can't easily be seen. In addition, the 7.0-inch vertically oriented touchscreen isn't terribly vibrant to begin with, and it easily washes out in direct sunlight. We didn't expect the lack of brake pedal feel with the standard carbon ceramic brakes, and it's the only area where car-to-driver communication is lacking. It's not about stopping power, of which there is plenty, but there's a too long zone of initial pedal stroke where nothing happens, which can make navigating stop-and-go traffic more difficult than it should be. Once the pads are firmly in contact with the rotors, the pedal gets hard and doesn't budge much farther, making modulation more about force than travel. We didn't drive any cars equipped with the no-cost iron rotors, which may be better behaved. McLaren is coming off a monumental sales year in 2016, during which its sales almost exactly doubled to 3,286. The 570S Spider, expected to be its best seller, certainly will help nudge that number closer to the company's goal of about 4,500 units per year with no SUVs. Thank you very much, says McLaren. At $211,300 to start, the Spider's price is roughly 10% higher than the coupes, but depending on paint, trim, and feature options, it's basically a wash with as equipped prices for coupe, GT, and convertible widely overlapping. It takes 11 days for the 370-person build team at McLaren's Woking, England, factory to turn a collection of parts into this organic, analog, and very much alive supercar. It's a spectacular achievement, just like the car itself.